suppose I have to. Where do I even put
No, you don't have to wear it if you're up there.
Don't I?
No, because we're like far enough away from you.
Thank you. Okay.
Did you not know that, ma'am?
No. Okay, so what I did with choice 1 this morning, because they had a triple, I went through the PowerPoint and we just picked some things that they were asking questions about. And I showed them stuff and whatever. So today's lesson, the single, and then tomorrow's the double. We'll do more or less the same as them. And then in the second lesson tomorrow, like I did with them, I went over worksheet 2. And we actually figured out all these funny little things about mitosis and meiosis. Remember, you don't learn meiosis though. Okay, so... Oh, I need to go to the beginning. So by the end of tomorrow's double, it will be very clear. Okay, I know I'm standing by my computer, so you're just watching the screen. Okay, I can't change sliding up in here. Someone sent this to me. The day I started doing your lessons on cell division, someone sent that to me.
I laughed at that, man.
I don't even know.
I'm very dancing.
Okay, so this is a little diagram that I gave in grade 12 as well. Where's my stick? I need my stick. No, in the tent with the grade 9s, because I'm pointing up like this. So this is very good. Okay.
I was thinking you're going to hit someone.
No, I'm doing the hearts down there, and I'm pointing to right atrium, left atrium, and I'm short. And I don't have a laser, so this works very well. Okay, so this one I give in grade 12 as well. Because, okay, we only do meiosis in grade 12, but we talk about mitosis in grade 10. In fact, I think we're going to start drawing in now. Alright, so I'm going to try and remember exactly, what the other class asked, and maybe you'll come up with those questions as well. Alright, so we don't learn about meiosis in grade 12, but it allows, meiosis is sometimes, don't write this down, it's called reduction division. Okay, I'm just going to abbreviate. And basically because it reduces the diploid number of chromosomes to the haploid. Don't write that down. So adult males and females, you agree we diploid?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but only the cells, there are cells in the testes and the ovaries. And by the way, just for interest's sake, they're called gonads. Gonads. Because they determine, gonads. What do I normally say? Gonads, they're going to determine what sex you are, but not now. I mean, nowadays, testes, ovaries, we've got all this whole continuum in between, where people have ovaries, but they produce too much testosterone, like castorsemania. Okay, that's not written well. So, meiosis is called reduction division because it reduces the number of chromosomes to half, so that when the egg, is fertilized by the sperm, you then get that diploid zygote again, so one cell. So the diploid number is restored. Now what does diploid mean? It means that there are
2 sets
of chromosomes.
Yes.
Okay. So all of our cells have chromosome pair 1. Can you hear us, Hannah? Okay, chromosome pair 2, chromosome pair 3. And can you see the board? Because I'm using my phone.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. And then all the way up until the 23rd pair of chromosomes. So females have 2 long X's and males XX, and males have an X and a Y. All right, so that gets, the diploid organism will then again have 23 pairs of chromosomes. But then that zygote has to divide, it starts becoming an embryo, and it divides by mitosis to form 2 cells. And then 2 cells, they each divide and you get 4, and so on and so on. So growth, growth of the zygote to become an embryo, that is by mitosis. It's increasing cell number, but that's a diploid cell, and then all of these, those 2 will be diploid, then they divide, and then the 2 that came from that cell are diploid, and these 2 that came from that cell are diploid. Okay, now, this is word cell differentiation here. So this little embryo, I'm still on the board, okay, and this little embryo eventually consists of lots of cells, and they're all diploid, but then they differentiate. So there's a whole field of study called embryology. I've got a big textbook at the back. I don't know why we had to buy this whole book. It was for Zoology 1 or something. And they actually know in an embryo which cell becomes which organ. Like maybe this cell here could become a muscle cell, and they're long and spindle shaped. And maybe this cell here becomes a nerve cell. So when we move on to tissues, you'll see what I mean. And maybe this cell here becomes a columnar epithelial cell with little cilia. And maybe this one becomes a red blood cell in the blood. All right, so that's what differentiation means. The cells take on different forms, and it becomes different parts of the embryo. And in biology, I'm sure I've said to you before, things have a specific structure, therefore they have a function. Structure to function. Haven't I done your tables like that? What structure does the organelle have? What function does it have? Remember?
I think that's this, we got it like a printed out table.
Yes, the one on cell organelles. Yes.
Oh, yes.
So to me,
There's still someone, one person.
There's one here.
you can come to
Just one quickly.
Yeah.
Only one.
Okay, so
What grade are you?
10.
10.
what was I saying? Okay.
Governor.
Governor, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So what was I saying now? So I have no idea. Okay, so yeah, in those tables, so we always say, what does the cell have? How is it differentiated? What structure?
Yeah.
What structure does it have? Therefore, what is it specialized to do? So there's differentiation and specialization. So that muscle cell will contract. That's not a whole muscle, it's a little muscle cell. This nerve cell will conduct nerve impulses. This ciliated columnar epithelial cell, which you don't know about yet, it's got little cilia to help move mucus out of your lungs, and the red blood cell helps to carry oxygen. All right, so that little embryo, the cells specialize, or they differentiate, they become different, therefore they've got different functions, they form all the organs and systems of your body, and I know this was on the video on lockdown. Did you understand it though?
Yeah.
So I'm reiterating. Miss, tell me from the start. And then a fetus, a little fetus is a little human-like organism, or it's starting to look, you know, like a little animal or something. And then you get the adults and so on and so on. So we understand where mitosis occurs. So then, I'm just going through it quick, all right? So then that's a similar diagram, all right? Okay, just showing the, you know, mitosis is fusion, and that zygote becomes the new organism by mitosis and development, differentiation of the cells, and then they get special functions. And then my class, they wanted me to say something about this. Do you want me to say something about this?
It's really cut piece of, yeah. I just didn't get that in the classroom, but I get it now.
Okay, so some plants use mitosis to make more plants. So it's asexual reproduction. We call it vegetative because you take a piece of the plant, the vegetative piece. I got this at the back. So there it was like that this morning. And then this little plant, if I break it off, it will grow roots and you can put it in the
And do
ground.
other plants only grow like that if it's a seed? Or do all plants?
A lot of plants can vegetatively reproduce, like the succulents down in the flower beds in B block. Those little, it's on the next page. And strawberries, so they make little runners in a new plant, and a little runner duck there. So I could break that plant off. It's a clone. It's genetically identical to the original one, but it grows quick because it's summer and it's warm and there's lots of nutrients. But flowers are also made by strawberries, so they reproduce sexually as well. Okay, so yeah, those are cuttings. It's vegetative reproduction. My rockeries, I've got rockery plants, and they just grow. They take over. I've got to cut them down. They grow so much, and it's just from little pieces that fall. Okay, so this one here, it's in that fish tank at the back. It's that fish tank, oh, it's not a fish tank, it's a terrarium. It's covered with this. There were a few strands of this. I've been here now since 2007, and I water that thing twice a year. It's a little water cycle. Remember in grade 9 I told you. So it's just vegetative reproduction. I got this from my garden and I pull it out because it takes over, and I see it was growing again in summer. Just vegetative, it just grows by mitosis. Okay, and then the geranium. So that's the one there, or pelargonium. So if I break a piece of this off, if I break this branch off and put it in water with a rooting powder, like hormones, it will grow into a new plant. But I didn't get seed. Okay, so a lot of plants can do that. But then that's asexual reproduction, not sexual reproduction. Okay, so That's the one down in B
Oh, I
block.
have one of those, and it fell out of, like, I had a little pot full of them,
Yes.
and one of them fell out, and now it's growing everywhere.
I was actually going to take some from B block and bring them up here and grow.
But it also grows off, like, one leaf
Yes.
by itself, has its own little
Yeah.
roots.
So it's
really
cloning of the plant by asexual reproduction, just using mitosis, and then the cells differentiate and become root, stem, and leaf, and then they do different things. Okay, but they're clones of each other. All right. And bacteria and amoeba, when they divide, they're clones of each other. And that happens when there's good conditions, like lots of nutrients, all of that. And my little hydras, they're my favorite. Little hydras grow on the side of the adults. There they are. There, my stick, I need my stick over there. Little babies grow off, or yeast cells budding. That's all mitosis, asexual reproduction. Did you all understand this?
Yes.
Yes.
So I did that ad nauseum, okay? And now we know what this is, ad nauseum, over and over and over and over. Okay, we understand why we do this,
Yes.
to make the plant bushy and that it grows more branches, all right? And you all understood this.
Yes.
And then we had the question, and I went over it.
Ma'am, I just had one question about can you go back to the one before this, I think? With the terminal bud, if you cut that off, does that mean that the plant can never grow past that height again?
Well,
Or does it just slow the growth?
if you cut that off, it's going to make branches here, so they will get
Yeah.
longer. And these there.
So it's never going to grow past that point?
No, not
The
here.
original
This will
stem.
stop, but these ones will make it grow that way. And
Yeah,
maybe,
and then those
and then
will-
more, and then
Yeah.
it becomes.
So that's how you make it a bush, because you chop off that top bit.
Yeah.
Okay. And then for the pericycle
Yes.
ring, I'm a little bit confused with that.
Okay, so in the middle of the root, there's a ring of tissue. Okay? So there's xylem and phloem, we'll do that later, xylem and phloem and other tissue. That ring of tissue is made up of dividing cells. They're called meristematic. Meristematic in plant means dividing cells.
Okay.
So those cells divide to make branch roots.
Okay.
So it helps to stabilize the plant so it can become taller. You see, I'm a botanist. I did botany 1, 2, and 3.
So is
and
that
I loved
only
it.
in the root of the
Yeah.
plant?
So in the
that's
root,
the only place you'll find.
pericycle. But then you get other meristematic regions, like in the top buds and in the side buds and so on. Okay. Yeah. All right. You know why I did this? It's because your textbook just lists things, and it's like, what does it mean? But if you now see it, oh, now I understand. Okay. All right, plant pruning. And this one, you happy with?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't need to know was the bones thing just an example? We don't need to know that.
We're going to get to this later when we do skeleton and all that.
Okay,
But
we
just
don't
that-
need to know it.
The names, no, there are other names, and we're not doing that now, but just the red, that should be red. Red bone marrow, that's where mitosis happens to make blood cells. But then the epiphyseal plates, that's where there are cells that divide by mitosis to make this bone grow longer. So this always gets pushed down and the bone becomes longer. Think of your leg lengthening.